Ellen DeGeneres feeling the heat as more employees, past and present, from her show say that they were working in a toxic environment. Some Hollywood actors also speaking out against the talk show host now. Let's bring in Carly Shimkus of Fox News Headlines 24/7. Carly, good morning. Great to see you. So what more are we hearing on this story?
Yeah, so things are really spiraling here, and it's sort of two situations unfolding at once. One of them has to do with a mountain of complaints against the show's executive producers. Some 47 past and current employees have complained to BuzzFeed News. Allegations ranging from a toxic work environment, bullying, now even sexual harassment. So Warner Media is investigating that. And
Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, things are going to get a little meta.
Oh, meta.
Yeah, we're going to be unpacking the career and some of the recent life changes of Ellen DeGeneres.
I am so ready for this one.
You ready to go down the rabbit hole?
Absolutely, buckle up.
Okay, so our main source for today's deep dive is going to be a recent article from Fox News.
Okay.
And let me tell you, some of this stuff is pretty wild.
Right.
Okay, so to get started, let's rewind a little bit.
Okay, back it up.
Back it up. Remember peak Ellen?
Oh, yeah. Dancing with the audience?
Yeah, that infectious laugh.
America's sweetheart.
Total America's sweetheart for years.
Mm.
And then there was that be kind message, right?
Yeah. That was like her brand.
It became her brand.
It was everywhere.
It was everywhere. So that's what made the accusations of a toxic workplace hit so hard.
Right, because it wasn't just about workplace misconduct. It felt like a betrayal of this whole image she'd built.
Right. It felt personal. It did. And so the article highlights how Ellen addressed it head on during her stand-up tour leading up to her Netflix special.
Okay.
And she joked about being kicked out of show business for being mean. So, I mean, is that self-awareness?
Ooh, good question.
Or just like a carefully crafted deflection tactic?
I mean, it's a brilliant use of humor, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's acknowledging the criticism,
Uh-huh.
but also at the same time kind of diffusing it with a laugh.
Right.
It's like saying, yeah, I messed up, but I can still make you laugh about it, right?
Right.
The question is, does that make you more sympathetic to her situation or less?
I'm honestly not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tightrope.
She's walking a tightrope there. Speaking of walking a tightrope.
Yeah.
In her Netflix special, Ellen DeGeneres, for your approval, she goes even further.
Okay.
So there's this quote where she's talking about the be kind backlash, and she says, the be kind girl wasn't kind. That was the headline. Here's the problem. I am a comedian who got a talk show, and I ended the show every day by saying, be kind to one another. Had I ended my show by saying, go for yourselves, people would have been pleasantly surprised to find out I'm kind.
Whoa.
What do you think about that?
That quote really highlights the tension, I think, between public image and the reality of being a complex human being, right? Like, it makes you wonder how much of what we see is really genuine versus just like a constructed persona.
Totally. And how do you even separate the two when someone's career is built on being so open and personable?
You can't. You really can't. I mean, we create these narratives about celebrities.
Yeah.
We project our own ideals onto them. And then when they don't live up to our expectations, it can be really jarring.
Right.
We have to remember that celebrities are people too.
Right. With flaws and complexities.
Yeah.
We can't hold them to these impossible standards.
Oh.
Speaking of changing scenery.
Oh, here you go.
The article then kind of pivots to something completely different.
Oh.
Ellen and Portia de Rossi, they sold their Montecito home.
Right.
And they were reportedly house hunting in rural England. So this was right after the 2024 election.
Right.
Which, as you know, was, well, eventful.
Eventful is one word for it.
Yeah. Trump's victory seemed to play a role in their decision to move.
It makes you think about the impact of political events on our personal choices.
Right.
I mean, is this just like a temporary escape? Or are they seeking something more permanent, more distance from the current political climate in the U.S.?
That is the big question. And it's not like Ellen has been completely apolitical.
Right.
The article mentions that she subtly showed support for Kamala Harris during the election.
Okay.
She reshared Taylor Swift's endorsement on social media. And she added a comment that seemed to be referencing J.D. Vance's remarks about childless cat ladies.
Oh, interesting. Subtle, but it's definitely a political statement.
Right.
It suggests that Ellen, who has been relatively quiet about her political views, might be more willing to speak out in the future.
Yeah, maybe. So let's try to connect the dots a little bit here.
Okay.
So we've got this massive career built on kindness.
Right.
But then we have these accusations of a less than kind work environment.
Yeah.
And then we've got this move that seems to be at least partially motivated by some political shifts. It's all a bit juxtaposed, wouldn't you say?
It's very complex. It paints a very complex picture of Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
She's clearly very talented and successful.
Yeah.
But she's also someone who has been deeply affected by the pressures of fame and public scrutiny.
It really is a story that raises a lot of questions about public perception and how much we truly know about the people we admire.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Is this a fall from grace?
Hmm.
Is it a strategic reinvention?
Uh-huh.
Or is this just a human being navigating a challenging chapter in their life?
And that's where this deep dive gets really interesting.
Okay.
We're going to be delving into these questions, and we're going to try to unpack all these layers of Ellen DeGeneres' story.
Awesome. Let's do it.
So we're going to look at her comedic style, her career trajectory, and this major life change.
All right.
And hopefully by the end of it, we'll have a better understanding of not only Ellen DeGeneres,
Okay.
but also the complex relationship between celebrity and audience in the digital age.
Can't wait.
Stick with us because there's so much more to uncover in this deep dive into Ellen DeGeneres.
I'm ready. You know, it's fascinating how Ellen's career, like, she built it on this idea of radical authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, open, warm, that be kind persona.
Mm-hmm.
That was like her trademark.
It was.
And then all these allegations come out, and suddenly it's like that image starts to crack.
Right. It makes you question how much of it is genuine versus just like a calculated image.
Totally.
And with Ellen specifically, it always felt so blurry.
It does.
Like, was the be kind message a marketing ploy?
Yeah.
Or was it really like a genuine reflection of who she is?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's impossible to know for sure.
Yeah.
But what I think is really interesting is how she uses humor
Yeah.
to address all these criticisms.
Right.
Like, instead getting all defensive, she leans into the controversy. She makes light of it in her stand-up routine.
Right. She's owning the narrative in a way.
Totally.
But it does make me wonder, is it a genuine attempt to like connect with her audience and show her vulnerability, or is it calculated? Is it a strategy to deflect criticism and control the narrative?
I mean, honestly, it could be a bit of both.
Yeah.
Humor can be such a powerful tool,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
to disarm your critics and build rapport with an audience.
For sure.
But it can also be a way of avoiding deeper introspection or taking responsibility for your actions.
So is she using humor as a shield
Right.
or a bridge?
Ooh, I like that.
I guess that's up for each individual to decide.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about this move to England.
Okay, let's go.
This feels like a pretty drastic step.
It's
Is she running away from the controversy? Or is this a genuine desire for like a fresh start?
It's hard to say. The timing is interesting, though.
It is.
Right on the heels of this really crazy election, you've got this wave of criticism.
Yeah.
It's possible that she just wanted a break from all the scrutiny.
Right. Especially considering how polarized things have become.
Absolutely.
Like maybe she's just looking for a place where she can be judged less on her past
Yeah.
and more on who she is now.
Or maybe she just wants to escape the spotlight for a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. She was at the top of her game for years.
Right.
Her show was on every single day.
In millions of homes.
Millions of homes. That gets exhausting.
Yeah. That constant pressure to keep up a certain image, I can't even imagine.
And who wouldn't want to escape to the English countryside?
I mean, I would.
Right?
But the article did mention that she's setting up a new production company over in England.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe this move isn't about retreating. Maybe it's about repositioning herself strategically.
Interesting. It's like starting a new chapter, but with all the baggage from the last one.
Right. Do you think she can rebuild her career over there? Or is the controversy just going to follow her?
That's the big question. It's a gamble for sure.
It is.
But Ellen has always been a risk taker.
Yeah.
And she's so talented.
Yeah.
The question is, will people give her another chance?
And will she address the criticisms head on?
Right.
Or try to just sweep it under the rug and start fresh?
I guess we'll see. It'll be interesting to watch how this all plays out.
It will. But I think it's important to remember that Ellen's career was more than just a talk show.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, she broke so many barriers for LGBTQ plus representation.
Absolutely. Especially at a time when it wasn't easy.
Right. Her coming out back in '97.
Yeah.
That was a huge moment.
Monumental.
And her success after that, it paved the way for so many other LGBTQ plus performers.
Totally. That's a legacy that can't be erased.
Right. It's complicated.
It is.
There's the Ellen we saw on screen.
Yeah.
You know? Funny, kind, relatable.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the allegations of this toxic workplace.
Yeah, a very different picture.
Right. And then this move to England.
It's tough to make sense of it all.
It is. Could be a retreat, a career move. Who knows?
I think it reminds us that public figures are complex.
They are.
They have these multifaceted lives, and we tend to oversimplify things.
Yeah.
We try to put people in these neat little boxes, but the reality is much more nuanced than that.
It's easy to forget that there's a human being behind the persona.
Totally.
Someone who's grappling with their own flaws and vulnerabilities.
For sure.
And while we should hold people accountable for their actions,
We should.
I think it's also important to remember that people can change and grow.
Right. That's a big one.
It is.
We live in this culture of instant judgment cancel culture.
Yeah.
It's important to at least allow for the possibility of redemption and second chances.
Right. And I think that's what makes Ellen's move to England so fascinating to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like she's creating this space for personal growth to happen, you know, away from all the judgment from the media.
Away from the court of public opinion.
Exactly. And maybe that's what we can all learn from this.
What's that?
That sometimes you need to step away from all the noise,
Yeah.
the expectations, the pressure.
To just figure out who you are.
Exactly. And what you truly value.
Whether that's a physical move or a mental shift.
Right. Just creating that space for introspection can be so powerful.
It's about reclaiming your narrative.
Yeah.
Defining yourself on your own terms.
Uh-huh.
And not letting external forces dictate your worth or your identity.
That's a good point. All right. So we've talked about Ellen's rise and fall and comedic style and this big move to England.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. So now let's try to bring it all together.
Okay.
What does this all mean for Ellen?
Yeah.
And what can we, the audience, take away from all of this?
That's the big question, I think, for Ellen. This could be a time for a lot of reflection.
Uh-huh.
Maybe reinvention.
Yeah.
She's stepping away from the environment that, in a way, led to her success,
Yeah.
but also her downfall.
It makes you think about the pressures of maintaining a certain image,
Oh, absolutely.
especially when your career is built on being likable and relatable.
Right. It's like this constant tightrope walk
Yeah.
between being yourself and giving the people what they expect.
And those expectations are so hard to manage.
They are, especially in the age of social media,
Right. Every little misstep is amplified.
and scrutinized.
It's like you're living under a microscope.
You are constantly being judged.
And it's not just celebrities.
No,
This pressure to be perfect, it's everywhere.
it really is. It permeates our whole culture,
Ellen's story is just on a much grander scale.
right? It's a human struggle we all face.
Yeah, the desire to be liked,
The fear of judgment.
the pressure to conform.
It never ends.
And then there's the question of cancel culture. We're so quick to condemn people these days.
Based on one mistake.
Yeah. Or their past.
Is there even room for forgiveness anymore?
I don't know. It's like we've lost the nuance in these conversations.
I think we have. It's either you're with us or against us.
And we've forgotten that people can evolve.
People can change.
But we all make mistakes.
We learn. We grow.
Hopefully we become better versions of ourselves.
Hopefully.
But that journey takes time.
And it doesn't always happen in public.
That's why I find this move to England so interesting.
Yeah, me too.
It's like she's creating space.
to grow.
Yeah, to figure things out away from all the judgment.
It's smart.
And maybe that's what we can all learn from this.
What's that?
Sometimes you need to step away.
From the noise.
Yeah, from all the expectations.
Just to breathe.
Yeah, and figure out what really matters.
To reconnect with yourself.
Exactly. Whether it's a physical move or just a mental shift.
It's about taking control.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Ellen DeGeneres, I think we're left with more questions than answers.
We usually are.
But maybe that's okay.
Maybe it's the point.
It's not about finding easy solutions or judging.
It's about understanding the complexity of being human.
Right. We need to recognize our own flaws
Our own biases.
and extend a little more grace.
To ourselves and to others.
Maybe that's the most important question we can ask ourselves.
What's that?
How can we be kinder,
More understanding
more forgiving?
in a world that desperately needs it.
It's a question worth pondering.
It is.
And maybe the answer lies somewhere in the English countryside.
With Ellen.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see what this next chapter holds for her.
Until then.
Let's all try to be a little kinder
A little more thoughtful.
and a little more open to change and redemption.
That's a great note to end on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
And maybe a little inspiring.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
And keep diving deep.
We'll see you next time.